when I have sought feedback and not given feedback, it will, in my mind, stop me from applying for that job again. When you don't close the loop, you reduce the chances of an applicant reapplying.
I've been on the receiving end where I've been very stressed and I forgot to say things, and I remembered afterwards and said, look, John, you should have said this, but who hasn't?
So you can't discount someone just because they did not do well in one interview. We all have our good days, we all have our bad days, but you can't write off a person based on a bad day.
Sometimes they don't even say that you were an unsuccessful candidate.
Sometimes there was a sentence saying, if you'd like feedback, and I never thought about asking.
We should provide quality feedback each and every time.
I try and be very specific with the feedback.
I scheduled actual sessions with each candidate.
And provide them meaningful feedback. Don't just say that you did really well, but you weren't the strongest person on the day.
You know, there was someone slightly better than you, and that's why they got the job. That's not useful.
But what I wanted at the end of this is feedback. That person said to me, I can't even read my own handwriting. So you can imagine how deflated I would be as a candidate.
It's very important, I feel, and gives you a closure.
Particularly with minority groups, you know, refugees, people with disability and women, because the research again tells us that when you do that, they're more likely to apply for the job, they're more likely to do better next time, and they're more likely to get the job.
And it's really interesting. So far, people who've reached out to me for feedback, I would say 80% of them have belonged to a multicultural background.
Candidates have spent a lot of time putting their applications in, and it's really important for them.
When you make a commitment to apply in the public service, there's time and emotional attachment and commitment.
Like looking for a job, it takes a little bit of energy.
Having devoted all of that time to trying to demonstrate their skill with us, I think it's a mark of respect that we then give them feedback on how they performed.
A lot of candidates would also be going out and talking about it, and that's where your brand image also comes into play, when people go and talk about how they were made to feel.
Speak to other people and say, I had this great experience. I didn't get the job, but I would definitely apply again.
Some people who I have interviewed again for a similar role later, and I have been on the panel and I have seen the difference.
It's not just about providing feedback to unsuccessful candidates. What about candidates who have been successful?
I feel like the onboarding process is so important because then you can make a difference from the very beginning.
My hiring manager sort of rang me up and said, you're a successful applicant, congratulations, and we expect you to turn up on such and such date. She was there early in the morning to welcome me into the workplace.
So we spent more time getting to know the person rather than, here's the work you're going to do from next week.
One of the most important things is to ask them how they work best.
A very common one, which a lot of people don't think about, is how you as the manager communicate.
Do they prefer to communicate via email? Are they better in the afternoons and in the mornings?
She said, I'm going to basically pair you up with somebody who's an experienced person.
There's a person in another team, and they just came and hugged me when they saw me because they just felt they were a new starter, and they were like, oh, I'll be able to ask you all the questions that I need to ask that I can't ask my team member. And they're simple things, they're nothing big like, where can I find halal food around here? And I think that kind of comfort and that easiness does help a person settle in.
I did that myself actually when I got a job at DCJ, and I onboarded 80 people.
I have a very strong family culture in the workplace with my cold family. The sense of connection that I have when we see each other. I know, you get it, I get it, and we're here together.
When you're from a minority group or have a disability or neurodivergent, it's a very lonely journey. But if we can build those environments where people can just walk in and not feel that they have to be alone to experience these things, then it could, end up bringing more people into the space.
Actually hiring someone for your team is probably one of the most important decisions going to make.
The people that we serve, if they're not appropriately reflected by the workforce, the decision making that we make is going to be flawed.
If we want our services to have the impact we intend of them, then we need to have those voices at the table.
They have been through experiences that maybe you wouldn't have, and they could be very valuable for the job.